I know you clicked on this video because you think like me. How can we have so many similarities in the universe and a pattern that repeats itself almost all the time? To understand this pattern behind quantum reality and the universe, I need you to imagine a few things with me. Relax, close your eyes, and listen carefully now. Imagine you are looking at a coastline from a satellite. Now imagine looking at the same coastline from a helicopter, from the shore, or from a meter away, examining the edge of a single rock. The shape would be the same: jagged, irregular, self-similar. The pattern that appears at the largest scale reappears at every scale below it. You could be looking at a continent or a pebble, and the structure would be indistinguishable. This is not an accident of geology. It is one of the most fundamental properties of the way reality organizes itself. Now look at the branching of a tree. Then look at the branching of your lungs. Then the branching of the neurons in your brain. Then the branching of rivers seen from space. Then the branching structure of the cosmic web, the filaments of dark matter that connect galaxy clusters across hundreds of millions of light years. The same pattern, every time, at every scale. And now look at what quantum mechanics says about the structure of reality before observation. A particle exists in superposition. All possible states simultaneously present the whole of what it could be contained within what it is, until the moment of measurement collapses that wholeness into a single specific expression. The whole contained in each part reflecting the structure of the whole. 3,000 years before any of this was measured, someone wrote it down. As above, so below. I have been sitting with that phrase for a long time, not as a spiritual motto or a decorative idea, as a precise technical description of something the physics keeps confirming from every direction it approaches. This video is about what that confirmation actually looks like, and why it changes everything about how you understand quantum reality, consciousness, and the structure of what is real.
The ancient seals awaken.
The phrase comes from the Emerald Tablet, attributed to Hermes Trismegisto, the legendary figure who gave his name to Hermetic philosophy. The full passage reads roughly, "That which is above is the same as that which is below, and that which is below is the same as that which is above, for the performance of the miracle of the one thing." Most people encounter this in a spiritual context and either accept it as poetic wisdom or dismiss it as ancient mysticism that has nothing to say to a world that has particle accelerators and space telescopes. Both responses miss what it is actually describing. It is not a metaphor. It is not an analogy. It is an observation about the structural organization of reality itself. The claim is that patterns do not just resemble each other across scales. They are the same pattern, the same organizing principle expressing itself at different levels of resolution. The macro and the micro are not analogous. They are instances of the same thing. The ancient writers did not have the mathematics to describe this precisely. They did not have fractal geometry or quantum field theory, or the concept of scale invariance, but they were observing something real: the night sky and the atom, the spiral of a galaxy and the spiral of a nautilus shell, the branching of lightning and the branching of blood vessels, the wave on the ocean and the wave function of a particle, the same pattern, all the way down, all the way up. I find this one of the most genuinely astonishing things about the history of human knowledge, that a principle articulated in the ancient world without any of the tools modern science uses, turns out to be one of the most experimentally confirmed properties of physical reality. Not because the ancients were magic, but because they were paying attention to something real that the tools eventually caught up to. In 1975, a mathematician named Benoit Mandelbrot gave a name to what the Hermetic tradition had been pointing at for millennia. He called it fractal geometry, the mathematics of self-similar structures, patterns that repeat themselves at every scale of magnification, where the closer you look, the more you find the same structure you saw from far away. The Mandelbrot set is the most famous example, a mathematical object of infinite complexity generated by a simple equation. Zoom into any part of its boundary, and you find the same structure again, slightly varied, infinitely detailed, the whole containing within every part a reflection of itself. But fractals are not just mathematical curiosities. They are everywhere in nature. The branching of trees, bronchial tubes, river deltas, neural networks, snowflakes, mountain ranges, coastlines, all of them fractal, all of them self-similar across scales, all of them instances of the same organizing principle showing up in radically different physical contexts. The reason nature generates fractals so consistently is not aesthetic, it is functional. Fractal structures are extraordinarily efficient. They maximize surface area within a given volume. They distribute resources across a system with minimum material. They are what you get when optimization operates across multiple scales simultaneously. And here is where it starts to connect to quantum mechanics in a way that is not metaphorical. The quantum field does not produce objects. It produces patterns of probability distributions, wave functions that describe not where a particle is, but the structure of where it could be. And those probability distributions, when visualized mathematically, show the same self-similar, scale-invariant properties that fractal geometry describes. The pattern is not just at the classical scale of trees and coastlines. It is in the mathematical structure of the quantum field itself. This is the pattern behind quantum reality that the title is pointing at. Not a physical object you can point to, a structural principle that shows up at every level from the quantum field to the cosmic web. Take a moment and think about where you have seen this pattern in your own life. The same dynamic, repeating at different scales. A pattern in a relationship that mirrors a pattern in your relationship with your work, that mirrors a pattern in how you engage with ideas. As above, so below, operating not just in physics, but in the structure of experience itself. That observation belongs in the comments. The more specific, the more useful. You can share this with us here. In 2019, a paper was published comparing two images side by side. The first was a section of the cosmic web, the large-scale structure of the universe. The filaments of dark matter and gas that connect galaxy clusters across hundreds of millions of light years, a vast, branching, nodal network stretching across observable space. The second was a section of a human cerebellum, as seen under a microscope. The network of neurons and their connections within a few cubic centimeters of biological tissue. The images were nearly identical, not approximately similar, statistically identical in their structural properties. The researchers measured the distribution of nodes, the length of filaments, the clustering patterns. The numbers matched. The universe at its largest observable scale and the brain at its smallest observable structure are organized by the same mathematical principle. As above, so below. This is not mysticism. It is a measurement. and it raises a question that physics has not yet answered cleanly. Why does the same organizational pattern appear at scales separated by roughly 27 orders of magnitude? What principle is operating at both scales that produces the same result? The honest answer is that we do not fully know. What we do know is that wherever complexity emerges from simpler components, from subatomic particles to neural networks to galactic structures, the same patterns tend to appear: self-organization, scale invariance, fractal structure, the whole reflected in the parts. The Hermetic principle is not a mystical claim. It is a description of how complexity organizes itself in this universe. And quantum mechanics, which describes the level at which that organization originates, contains the same structural properties in its mathematics that appear in every emergent system above it. Here is where the quantum level of the pattern becomes most precise. Before a quantum particle is measured, it exists in superposition, not in one state, in all possible states simultaneously. The wave function that describes it is not a description of where it is. It is a description of the full structure of where it could be, weighted by probability. The whole of its possibility space contained in a single mathematical object. When measurement occurs, that wholeness collapses into a single specific expression. One possibility becomes actual. The rest, in most interpretations, do not disappear. They become inaccessible to the observer who measured, but the structure that produced them, the wave function, the wholeness, was real before the collapse. This is as above, so below, in its most precise physical form. The whole is present in the quantum level before the specific expression emerges. The pattern of all possible states contains within it the structure of every state that will ever actually occur. The macro emerges from the micro, but carries the structural signature of the total field from which it came. And here is the part that I keep returning to. The observer who collapses the wave function is not separate from this pattern. The observer is also a physical system, made of particles that obey quantum mechanics, embedded in the same field, subject to the same structural principles, which means the observer is not outside the pattern looking at it. The observer is the pattern becoming aware of itself at a particular scale of expression. As above, so below applies to the consciousness doing the observing as much as it applies to the coastlines and the galaxies and the neurons and the quantum fields. We are not studying the pattern from outside. We are the pattern studying itself. There is a physical principle that makes the Hermetic claim even more literal than most people realize. In 1993, physicist Gerard 't Hooft proposed what became known as the holographic principle, the observation that the maximum information content of any region of space is determined not by its volume, but by the area of its boundary surface. The three-dimensional interior is encoded on the two-dimensional surface surrounding it, like a hologram, where the full three-dimensional image is encoded in every part of the two-dimensional plate. Cut the holographic plate in half, and each half still contains the entire image at reduced resolution. The whole is present in every part. Every part contains the structure of the whole. This is the physical principle that the Hermetic tradition was pointing at. The universe may be, in a precise mathematical sense, a hologram, where what appears to be three-dimensional space is a projection from information encoded on a two-dimensional boundary, where the apparent separation between objects at different scales is a feature of the projection, not of the underlying structure. where at the level of the boundary, everything is connected in ways that the projected three-dimensional view makes appear separate. As above, so below. Because above and below are both projections of the same underlying information structure. I want to be careful here not to overstate what the physics says. The holographic principle is well supported mathematically, but its full implications for how we understand physical reality are still being worked out. What is not speculative is the mathematics. The information content of a region is bounded by its surface area. The whole is encoded in the boundary. Every part of the boundary contains the structure of the whole. The ancient writers did not have this mathematics, but they were pointing at the same structural relationship that mathematics describes. And you? What do you think the answer is? Leave it in the comments. The pattern does not stop at the boundary of physics. If as above, so below is a genuine structural property of reality, and the evidence suggests it is, then it should appear in every level of complex organization, including the level of human experience